Today we're going to use these dry ingredients, 2 eggs, some butter, and some water mixed with yeast and honey to make something that is absolutely amazing. The best low-carb bread I've ever had. This is Diedre's bread. Sometimes I can be a little chatty, and if you don't want to follow my garrulous talking, you can use the chapters below and go to whatever chapter you want. Or if you want to, go right to the end. You can go right to the recipe, and I'll have the recipe up there for a few seconds. So if you want to, you can pause it, copy the recipe, or just pause it and make the bread while you're watching it. Diedre made 2 videos in the mid-20-teens, and then she was like gone for like, I don't know, 5 years, 3 years, and then made another video saying, I'm back, and then she was gone ever since. Nothing ever since. So I hope she's okay. I hope she's not having any health problems or anything like that. I hope she's okay. I did put links to her video down below, and I also put links to people that have used her recipe and made their own stuff down below. So it's kind of a crappy day here in New York. I figured this is the perfect day to make bread. There is something, I don't know how to describe it, but there's something almost like biblical or spiritual about making bread. It's almost like you're making something primal. You're making something that's like something our body like creates. So it's a very cool thing. When you get done with it, you have a loaf of bread, or I make buns so that I can make sandwiches. You have these buns and you're just like in awe. You're just looking at them, it's just amazing. One of the first things when I started going low carb was looking for bread, because the one thing you lose is bread. And this is actually the first thing I found that is exactly like real bread. I've been looking for bread that you can make a sandwich out of or use on a burger or anything that just tastes right. And I've used the almond flour, and almond flour just didn't taste right. And there's something about it that I personally don't like. I know there are people that like it. I don't like it. To me, it tastes like mildew or mothballs or something. It's gross. But this bread is actually like bread. It's the first thing that I've had that's literally like regular bread. It's fluffy, it's light, it's squishy, like bread. To start, we're going to start off so simple. It's going to be just 1 cup of water. It gets complicated fast, but to start, it's just 1 cup of water. We're going to warm it up in the microwave, and you don't want it hot, you just want it warm. Oh, honey. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of honey, and you're going to ask, wait, I'm going to get sugar from the honey. But you're actually not, because what we're going to do is we're going to add some yeast to this, and the yeast actually eats the sugar in the honey. So you end up okay. And what you get is a great yeast flavor. So we're going to mix the yeast in really well, and then we're going to cover it with saran wrap to give it an airtight seal. You're going to put this aside for 10 to 15 minutes and just forget about it while we do the rest of the dry stuff. Okay, so let's start making the dry ingredients, putting them all together. I do that into the KitchenAid bowl because I'm going to stir it all up. I'll show you the KitchenAid. Pretty amazing. It's like going into like my wife's garage and taking a look at all her like engines and stuff. With MS, it's kind of hard to run around while you're cooking. So I try to line up everything before I go, and then also I have a hard time sometimes going down the recipe. So now I know if I take it out as I use it, it's off the table, it's done. Same thing with the cart. It's nice to have all my utensils and everything here together. This was actually my wife's idea. I'll have a link to that below. We're gonna start with a 1/2 cup of oat fiber. I got these, they're all magnetic. Kind of a nice way to keep them all together. You always know where your stuff is. You don't have to go running around for a lot of different things. I'll have a link to that below too as well. So a 1/2 cup of oat fiber. And then when I'm done with this, I put it right back on the cart. And then I don't have to remember whether I used it or not. The next thing is 2/3 cup flaxseed meal. I keep this actually in the freezer because I've heard about some people have said that it's gone bad or something. So I keep it in the freezer. That way I don't have to worry about it. Now they have a light and a dark flaxseed meal, and I actually mixed the two for this one, but if you use the dark one, it looks kind of like wheat bread, kind of neat, and I haven't made one with just the white yet. Okay, so the next is Vital Wheat gluten. We're gonna add 1¼ cups of Vital Wheat gluten. It's starting to smell like bread. It's starting to smell really cool like bread. And now I got 1/4 cup. And then when I'm done with the Vital Wheat gluten, I put it back on the cart. That way I don't forget. Looks like the sun's popping out here. We're gonna add 1 teaspoon of salt to this. And I believe I forgot to do this one time and it came out okay, but this is what Diedre calls for, 1 teaspoon of salt. You can use up to 4 tablespoons of sweetener, and I use allulose because I like what allulose does. It's they have a couple different artificial sweeteners that they find out different things, and they do something with your insulin, even though it's not supposed to. So I like allulose. There's a lot to it. Use whatever sweetener you like, or don't use a sweetener. You don't have to. And the last dry ingredient is xanthan gum. You want to make sure you want to put the xanthan gum in when it's dry, because I heard it clumps up very easily. And we're going to use a 1/2 teaspoon of xanthan gum, and they say you want to mix that in really well. And I think this has to do with something with the rising. If you know exactly what xanthan gum does and you want to share with the group, go ahead and make a comment. Let us know. And if there's any benefits in xanthan gum, or if you use something else. So now we're gonna grab the little mixer. Now you wanna mix all of this up really well, especially with the xanthan gum, because you don't wanna have any clumps of it. You wanna have it mixed totally as a powder before you add any of the wet ingredients. So I'm gonna stir this around. Okay, once you've completely mixed all the dry goods, we're gonna start putting in the wet stuff. By this time, your yeast should have risen. You should have a nice foamy yeast in here. You're gonna pour that whole contraption in. Now it calls for 2 eggs. Probably should have let these warm up a little before I brought them out. And I'm gonna stir them up a little. Okay, and then we're gonna pour that in. The next thing we add are 2 tablespoons of softened butter. So I like to take the softened butter. So that is softened butter. All right. Now we're ready to go to the mixer, and this is where the magic starts. This is a highly sophisticated machine. This is, something, if I use it wrong, I could put gamma rays into the kitchen or something. I don't know, there's big things if I use it wrong. So my wife has given me permission, and she's told me how to use this thing. This is where we do the magic. This is where we make powder into food. Now, I always said my wife was a bruja, that she did magic. She used the alchemy to turn things from powder into food. So we're gonna click this right in here. Okay. So I usually put it on slow. Let it spin around for a while, and it will make a dough. You'll get a dough out of this. Eventually, it will grab all of the dried powder and the flour off the sides. It'll make it into one glob. And once it makes it into one glob, then you can start the kneading. So now we got the bread in there. We got the kneader in there. We're gonna let it go for a little while. Eventually you're gonna have one big ball of dough, and you wanna let the machine keep going because you wanna let it keep kneading even though it's a ball. At this point, while the bread is kneading, I try to grease up one of my silicone pans for the dough. I try to use bacon grease for this because it tastes great. I find using my finger usually works the best for getting around the edges. So from here you can make it into one large loaf of bread. I like to make buns. So I take the total of what the weight is, divide it by 12. So then it's just a matter of getting them the right size and flattening them into a bun. You guys have any comments or any suggestions? I would love to hear them. One thing I'm learning is that getting bread that has a flavor is not that easy. I'd like to know what flavors you add to bread to get it to have a nice good flavor. So I make 4 for now, then I freeze 8 of them. I put them in packs of 4. So every time I'm cooking, I cook only 4 at a time. And that way, if I have a friend over who's doing keto or whatever, I have enough that we can both have burgers, or we can all have burgers. And once the patties are frozen, this whole thing goes really quick and easy. You just take it right out and let them thaw, and then do whatever you want to them, and then bake them. So I let these set for about 2 hours. You want to cover them up with some sort of wrap, and I guess so that they rise, they don't stick. I usually use avocado oil on spray. I'm out of that right now, so I'm using whatever my wife had. And so we'll just cover them up nice and loose so that they can rise if they do rise. And then I've seen a lot of people cover them up. I guess you want them to do their own thing. So I have no idea what that works. If you know more about making bread, let me know. I'd love to read about it. I'd love to read in the comments what goes on, and especially for keto stuff. I know different flour rises and does different things, and I don't know what keto stuff does. Now is when the magic happens. Now's when we're gonna make the house smell beautiful. So first we're gonna preheat the oven for 350 degrees. And when you put them in their little home, we're only gonna have them in there for about 25 minutes. Now, each oven might be different, but for my oven, it's about 25 minutes. Okay, so it's been 25 minutes. We're gonna check it out, see what it looks like. It smells perfect. It smells like I'm baking bread. And that's what they look like. Beautiful. So we're gonna let these cool. Okay, here we are with the finished bread, and it's absolutely incredible. They taste like wheat bread, and they feel just like bread. So it's kind of like, you know, you don't have that fake bread feel. I've learned a lot about bread doing this. I was gonna tell you guys all about the stuff I learned, but then I found this video, and this guy explains it perfectly. So I'm gonna have him do that.
In America, what we call bread can't even be considered food in parts of Europe. See, here in America, it's not so much the gluten as what we've done to the grain. About 200 years ago, we started stripping the bran and germ, or the fiber and nutrients, to make flour shelf stable, also nutritionally dead. Because the nutrients were gone, we enriched it with folic acid, which a large majority of the population can't even metabolize. Therefore, many people experience fatigue, anxiety, hyperactivity, and inflammation. But then the bread wasn't white enough, so they bleached it with chlorine gas, and the bread didn't rise enough, so they added a carcinogen called potassium bromate, which is banned in several countries like Europe, the UK, and even China. Then we wanted to ramp up production, so we started using glyphosate to dry out the wheat before harvest, causing endocrine disruption and damaging your gut. So now you're bloated, brain fogged, tired, and blame gluten, but gluten is just the scapegoat. The real issue is ultra-processed, chemically altered, bleached, bromated, fake vitamin-filled wheat soaked in glyphosate. This isn't bread. This is.
American bread is like poison. I think it's actually illegal in some countries. So this is perfect. It's all natural, and it tastes good. For some reason, I don't know, maybe you guys can comment, every now and then I get a little divot in the bottom, and I'm not sure exactly why, but hopefully, you know, someone who bakes might have a better reason why that happens. So usually when I cut them at an angle to try and get around the divot so I don't have a hole. I put an egg wash glaze on this, and then I put a little everything bagel seasoning on it. You can also put salt on it. So I've made these into an everything bun. I've made it into a Kummelwick bun with just the salt. But you can see it's light, fluffy. It has a good flavor. It's almost like wheat. It's not much flavor. It's more the flavor of what you put on it. So I've actually used this to put some oil, olive oil, and balsamic vinegar, and just dip it in that, and it tastes great. It really picks up the flavor. This is the perfect place to stop and get the recipe. You can copy it down. You notice Diedre had the weights of everything in there. I'm told that's supposedly a more accurate way to bake. And that was Diedre's bread. Are you looking for more low-carb goodies? Then go ahead and raid my fridge. I've got a playlist full of all kinds of treats. Hope you have a great day.